In a world teetering on the brink of oblivion, a ragtag team of rebels races against time to destroy a devastating weapon that could wipe out everything they hold dear. With enemies closing in from every side and hope hanging by a thread, they must navigate treacherous landscapes, face impossible odds, and uncover secrets that could change the fate of their world forever. But as darkness threatens to swallow them whole, one question remains. Will they succeed in their daring mission, or will their sacrifices be lost in the shadows of a war they barely understand? Stay tuned, because the fight for freedom has only just begun. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. The crimson glow of dawn bled across Tarot's fractured surface, spilling like blood over jagged, broken stones and twisted metal. Once, this world had spun silently under a peaceful moon, a quiet sentinel watching over a thriving civilization. Now, the moon's proud silence was shattered. Cracks and fissures ran like scars across the planet's surface, continents drifting apart in a slow, grinding dance, their edges still glowing faintly from the cataclysm that had torn this world asunder generations ago. Rivers of liquid metal, shimmering like molten fire, snaked through the voids between floating land masses, rivers that cast a deadly glow but never touched the ground beneath. It was a landscape scarred by destruction and yet, somehow, alive with threat and promise alike. In the shadows of ash-covered trees, their gnarled branches reaching skyward like the desperate fingers of buried corpses, Sela pressed her hand against a bleeding gash in her side. Her blue skin had paled to a ghostly hue, a sickly contrast against the dark, ash-laden sky. Every shallow breath sent a spear of pain through her ribs, but she stiffened her spine, refusing to let weakness take hold. Her eyes darted anxiously, scanning the ruined terrain for signs of the hunters that had been stalking her for 3 relentless days. The Tar hunting party, bloodhounds in their wake, scenting fear, had kept her in their sights, always just behind, always waiting for her to falter. She replayed the failed infiltration in her mind, every moment painfully vivid. The close call, the betrayal, the scent trail leading right into the trap. Her thoughts burned with anger and frustration. She had been so close to reaching the central command hub of the Royal Crater, to shutting down the hydro distribution system that kept Tar's stranglehold tight on the dwindling water supply. A single, crucial step toward breaking their grip. But then betrayal. Someone from her Olin, Xandera, had sold her out, her position compromised, her mission thwarted. The sting of that betrayal burned hotter than her wounds. Her mind spun with questions. Who had given her away? Who could she trust when even her people had turned against her? Suddenly, movement caught her eye. Through the skeletal, ash-covered forest, a figure approached, careful, deliberate, almost cautious. Her hand shot instinctively to her belt, fumbling for her crossbow. But her fingers closed around empty leather. Her weapon was gone in the chaos of her escape. She tensed, heart pounding, ready for another fight that might never come. The figure emerged from the dust, a tall, lean human, weathered by countless worlds and wars. His features were rugged, his eyes carrying secrets deeper than the void itself. "You're bleeding," he said softly, voice flat, almost indifferent, yet carrying a strange weight. His words made her wary. She studied him with a mixture of suspicion and faint hope. "And you are Alex Mason," she said, voice hoarse but steady, eyeing the tool pack slung across his shoulder. "Armorer?" she asked, voice edged with distrust. He gestured to his pack. "I heard the fighting. Thought someone might need repairs." She scoffed, wincing at the pain. "Nothing left to repair, unless you can fix broken trust." He tilted his head slightly, eyes flickering with a hint of understanding. "Far from home. Home isn't safe anymore," she responded bitterly. Her voice cracked with the weight of her suffering. Without asking, Alex knelt beside her, carefully examining her wound. His touch was deliberate, gentle, but efficient. A tactician's touch, not that of a simple mechanic. "This needs treatment," he said softly. "There's a relay station about a kilometer north. Ruined, yes, but defensible. Shelter from ash storms. Could buy us some time." Sila hesitated. Pride urged her to refuse, to keep her wounds hidden, to stay in the shadows. But her body betrayed her. Blood seeped through the makeshift bandage, and her exhaustion threatened to drown her. She looked into his eyes, an outsider, an alien presence, yet somehow trustworthy, or at least useful. Survival trumped pride, she muttered. "Why help me?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. Alex's gaze flickered again, and for a moment he looked away as if weighing something heavy. Then he reached out, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "Because everyone deserves a chance to see another sunrise," he said quietly, almost rehearsed but sincere enough to carry weight. She studied him, suspicion and curiosity battling in her mind. In that bleak twilight, as dust and ash swirled around them, she knew that her path ahead was uncertain, and the only thing she could trust, perhaps, was the fragile, flickering hope that somewhere, somehow, there was still a chance for something better. Inside the ruined relay station, shadows clung to the fractured walls, and the cold air smelled of dust, rust, and the faint metallic tang of blood. Alex carefully laid out his supplies on a battered table, working with a precision that betrayed his military background. His hands moved deftly, sterilizing a piece of cloth before gently cleaning the blood from Sila's wound. Her face was pale, her blue skin almost translucent under the flickering glow of a dying power cell. She winced as he pressed the cloth against her side, but she kept her mouth shut. No tears, no weakness. That was the way of her people, especially when survival was at stake. "You're not just an armorer," she rasped, eyes narrowing with suspicion as she watched him work. He paused, glancing up with a half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "No, I've been called worse, but I do fix what's broken, sometimes even people." His voice was dry, tinged with sarcasm, but there was a flicker of genuine concern behind it. She gave him a side glance, her voice edged with a mixture of sarcasm and fatigue. "Really? You sound like a poet now, or a preacher." He chuckled softly, holding up a small vial of antiseptic. "Just trying to keep you alive long enough to do something meaningful." His tone was matter-of-fact, but his eyes lingered on her wound, studying her like an artist examining a fragile masterpiece. "You're not from around here," she said after a moment, her voice hoarse. "Your hair, it's tar black, not like ours. Not like the others I've seen. What's your story, Mason?" He shrugged, starting to wrap her ribs with a sturdy bandage. "Let's just say I've been through a lot. Enough to know that trust is rare, and even more valuable when you find it." His gaze flicked to her, gauging her reaction. "I've been a soldier, a mercenary, a wanderer. Nothing special. Just someone who's learned to survive by playing both sides of the coin." Sila's eyes flickered with a mix of curiosity and wariness. "And now? Why are you helping me? You could just as easily leave me here, bleeding and broken." He finished wrapping her ribs and leaned back with a sigh. "Maybe I see a bit of myself in you. Or maybe I just don't like the idea of someone dying alone out here, especially when I can do something about it." His voice grew softer. "Besides, I've learned that the world doesn't change by sitting around waiting for heroes. Sometimes you have to make your path, no matter how bloody or uncertain it gets." Outside, the wind howled like a banshee, carrying ash and dust that stung their eyes. The distant sounds of warfare echoed faintly through the broken walls. Explosions, the crackle of energy weapons, the screams of desperate fighters. The endless clash between Tar and Hormyle forces seemed to stretch on without end, turning the planet into a graveyard of shattered hopes and broken dreams. Sila looked at him, her brow furrowing. "You seem to know a lot about this chaos. What's your angle? Why come all the way here, into the middle of this hell?" Alex hesitated, then looked away, eyes shadowed. "Let's just say I've seen enough to know that the real enemy isn't just the armies out there," he said quietly. "It's the lies, the betrayals, the manipulations. The ones pulling the strings and making us fight each other while they sit in the shadows, counting their credits." His voice grew darker. "The crater's a prize, sure, but it's also a trap. And I've been paid, well, not with credits, but with something more valuable, by someone who wants to see this planet burn." Sela's jaw clenched. "So, you're just another mercenary? Or a spy?" He smirked, but there was no humor in it. "Call me what you like. Just don't expect me to be on anyone's side, except my own." The distant rumble of artillery shook the ground beneath them, a reminder that time was running out. The planet's surface shuddered with the weight of war, and neither of them spoke for a moment. Then Alex looked at her, eyes steady and serious. "We need to move. The longer we stay here, the more likely it is they'll find us. That patrol out there, those Hormile bastards, they're not just hunting for survivors. They're hunting for me, and maybe for you too." Sela's eyes narrowed. "And what's your plan?" He looked at her, a faint grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "We get to that relay station, patch you up, and then we figure out our next move. Simple, right?" His voice carried a hint of sarcasm, but his tone was resolute. "Stick with me, and I promise you, this isn't over yet." The journey through the debris-strewn landscape was treacherous, each step crunching on fractured metal and ash. Sela kept a wary eye on the horizon, where distant explosions lit up the sky like fireworks of chaos. Alex led with cautious confidence, his eyes constantly scanning for patrols or signs of danger. The relay station was just a short distance away, or so they hoped, tucked behind a jagged ridge that jutted out like the broken backbone of some ancient beast. Every shadow seemed alive. Every sound was a potential threat. The distant crack of gunfire, the whimper of dying wind, the faint hum of distant engines. Their pace was deliberately tense, as if moving too quickly might give away their position. Suddenly, Alex paused, raising a hand. "Hold up," he whispered, voice low but sharp. "I hear something." His ears pricked, listening intently. A faint buzzing, like the distant drone of patrol drones, grew louder with each heartbeat. Sela pressed herself against a broken wall, clutching her side, eyes darting around. "Great, just what we needed," she muttered. "More bugs buzzing around, looking for us." Alex nodded grimly. "They're close. Probably patrols. We need to be quiet and fast." His gaze flicked toward the ridge. "There's a narrow pass up ahead. If we get there before they spot us, we might have a chance." They moved swiftly, slipping through the shadows, every step measured and silent, except for the faint scrape of debris underfoot. As they approached the ridge, Sela's breath hitched. A patrol drone hovered nearby, its mechanical eye scanning the area with a cold, unfeeling stare. "Damn," she hissed. "One wrong move, and they'll see us for sure." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Stay behind me. I've got an idea." With a quick gesture, he motioned for her to stay low. He then slipped into a crouch, crawling toward a pile of rubble, carefully removing a piece of loose metal from above. With a deft flick, he activated a small device he carried, a makeshift noisemaker, aimed at the drone's path. A loud, shrill whistle echoed through the air, and the drone's eye flickered as it turned toward the sound. "Go!" Alex hissed, pushing Sela forward. "Now's our chance." They scrambled through the pass, hearts pounding. Behind them, the drone's mechanical whine grew distant, and the patrols started to scatter, searching for the source of the noise. Once they reached the other side, Sela collapsed against the rough stone, breathing heavily. "Not bad, Mason," she said, a flicker of admiration in her voice. "You've got tricks up your sleeve, after all." He smirked, brushing dust from his clothes. "Experience, and a little bit of desperation." He looked around, eyes narrowing. The relay station's just beyond that ridge, but we're not out of the woods yet. These tar bastards won't give up that easy. Suddenly, a distant explosion shook the ground beneath them, sending a shower of sparks into the air. Sela flinched, clutching her side again. "That's close," she said, voice trembling. "They're not far behind." Alex studied the horizon, then nodded toward a narrow trail winding up the ridge. "We push through that. It's our best shot. Once we're at the station, we can barricade, patch you up properly, and figure out our next move." Sela hesitated, then gritted her teeth. "Fine. But if I get shot again, I'm blaming you for dragging me into this mess." He chuckled softly. "Deal. Just keep up, soldier. We've got a planet to survive, and I intend to see you make it through this alive." As they scrambled up the rocky path, the distant rumble of war echoed through the mountains, a relentless reminder that time was running out. Every second counted in this dance of life and death, and neither of them dared to look back. They pressed forward, knowing full well that the shadows of the past and the chaos of the present threatened to swallow them whole. But somewhere deep inside, a flicker of hope still burned, small but fierce, that somehow, against all odds, they might just find a way out of this nightmare. The relay station loomed ahead, battered but still standing amidst the chaos of war. Blasts scarred its metallic walls, and the windows were shattered like glass caught in a storm. Alex and Sela approached cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the thick dust that coated the ground. The air was heavy with tension, every breath a reminder that danger was still very much present. As they crept closer, Alex motioned for her to stay low behind a wrecked vehicle while he scouted ahead. "Stay here," he whispered, voice barely audible. "I'll check the perimeter." Sela nodded, clutching her side again, wincing at the pain. "You better come back in one piece, or I'll be forced to carry you," she muttered, trying to inject some humor into the grim situation. Alex shot her a quick grin over his shoulder. "Don't worry, I've survived worse. Just keep an eye out for those Hormile bastards." He moved silently, blending into the shadows, his eyes scanning the wreckage for signs of movement. The station's front door was hanging loosely on its hinges, revealing a dark interior filled with shadows and the faint smell of burnt circuits. He signaled for her to follow and slowly pushed the door open, careful not to make a sound. Inside, the place was a mess, cables draped like dead vines, shattered consoles, and the flickering remains of a hollow projector that cast ghostly images on the cracked walls. "Looks like I left in a hurry," Alex murmured, sweeping his gaze across the room. "Or maybe they're still inside, hiding behind those broken panels." Suddenly, a faint noise echoed from deeper within, metal scraping against metal, footsteps approaching. Both froze, instincts kicking in. Alex pressed a finger to his lips, then signaled for her to stay put. Slowly, he moved toward a corner where a flickering light revealed a narrow corridor leading further into the station. "Stay here," he whispered, voice tense. "If I don't come back in a minute, I've found trouble." "Great," Sela whispered back sarcastically. "Just what I needed, more trouble. You really know how to make a girl feel safe." He gave her a quick grin. "You're tougher than you look. Trust me, I'll be back." With that, Alex disappeared into the shadows. Sela leaned against the wall, clutching her ribs, trying to breathe evenly. Her blue skin was painted with streaks of dirt and sweat. Suddenly, she heard a faint clicking, like someone setting up a trap. Her instinct told her to stay alert. She reached for her weapon, a battered plasma rifle she'd managed to scavenge, and kept it ready. Then a pair of figures emerged from the corridor, their armor battered, weapons drawn. Sela's heart hammered her chest. One of them, a grizzled man with a scar across his cheek, spotted her first. "Hold it right there," he barked, voice rough. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Sela raised her weapon slightly, trying to keep calm. "I could ask you the same thing. I'm just looking for shelter. Anything to get out of this mess." The other figure, a younger woman, stepped forward cautiously. "We're survivors. Same as you. The Hormile patrols are everywhere. They're hunting for anyone they find. You're lucky we're still alive." The scarred man eyed her suspiciously. "You alone?" "Not exactly," Sela admitted. "I've got a friend out there." He's scouting. "He's dangerous, but he's good at what he does. We're trying to reach the relay station. That's why we're here." They exchanged wary glances. Then, the older man nodded slowly. "All right, we'll cover your back. But you'd better be quick. Those patrols are closing in fast." As the group moved deeper into the station, Sela couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, these strangers could be the allies they desperately needed. The station's interior was a maze of corridors and shadowed corners, each turn bringing them closer to the core, where the relay was said to be located. Every step was a gamble, every echo a potential threat, but they pressed on, driven by the shared goal of survival. Outside, the chaos of war continued unabated, but inside this battered refuge, a fragile alliance was forming, one that could turn the tide in their favor or doom them all. The inside of the relay station was an eerie maze of flickering lights and shadows, every corner hiding the potential for danger. Sela and the small group moved cautiously through the dark corridors, their footsteps echoing softly against the cracked concrete floors. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife, each person acutely aware that the slightest mistake could alert the Hormyle patrols lurking outside. Alex was at the front, his sharp eyes scanning every shadow, every doorway, while the others kept close, weapons ready but hearts pounding. Suddenly, a faint hum echoed from ahead, an ominous, rhythmic vibration that made everyone freeze. Sela's grip tightened on her rifle. "That's got to be the main power core," she whispered, voice husky with nervousness. "If we can access it, we might be able to disable the station's defenses, give us a real shot at reaching the relay." "Good plan," Alex said, nodding grimly. "But we need to get there first. The core's probably guarded. Stay sharp." His eyes flashed with determination, but beneath that, a flicker of apprehension lingered. No matter how confident he seemed, everyone knew this was a dangerous gamble. As they advanced, a sudden metallic clang echoed behind them, making everyone whirl around. Instinctively, Sela raised her weapon. "What was that?" she hissed. One of the newcomers, a wiry man with a scar running down his cheek, muttered, "Probably just debris shifting or a loose panel. Nothing to worry about. Keep moving." But Alex wasn't convinced. "Or it's a trap," he said, voice low but firm. "Stay alert. We don't know what's waiting for us here." They pressed onward, navigating through a labyrinth of broken consoles and shattered glass. The hum grew louder, more insistent, as they neared the core room. Inside, the place was a hive of flickering machinery, wires snaking across the floor like metallic vines. The main power conduit was suspended in the center, crackling with residual energy. It was a ticking bomb, one wrong move, and everything could explode. "Okay," Sela whispered, stepping forward cautiously. "I'll try to rig the circuit to overload, disrupt their defenses long enough for us to break through." "Be careful," Alex warned. "One spark, and we're all toast." She nodded, pulling out a small toolkit from her belt. Just as she began working, a sudden alarm blared through the station, red lights flashing wildly. The group immediately snapped to attention. "Trouble," Alex muttered. "They've caught wind of us." An overhead speaker crackled with a distorted voice. "Intruders detected. Deploy all units." "Perfect," Sela said bitterly. "Just what we needed. Now, they'll be on us like flies." The door to the core room burst open with a violent shudder, and a squad of Hormyle soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Their armor was scarred and battered, but still deadly. Sela fired a shot, hitting one soldier's helmet, causing him to stumble. "Cover me," she yelled, ducking behind a console. Alex charged forward, throwing a grenade at the incoming troops. The explosion sent shrapnel flying, forcing the enemy to scatter. "Go, now," he shouted. "Get the core disabled." With trembling hands, Sela fastened a device to the circuit board, sparks flying. The station trembled as her makeshift bomb activated, the hum of energy turning into a deafening roar. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze, the chaos, the danger, the impending explosion. Then, suddenly, everything exploded in a blinding flash of light, and the station shuddered violently. Smoke billowed out, filling the corridor with a choking haze. The team staggered backward, coughing and coughing, as debris rained down around them. "Did it work?" someone gasped. Alex's voice was strained but hopeful. "I think so. We bought ourselves some time. Now move. Get to the relay station before they regroup." They hurried through the collapsing corridors, adrenaline fueling their every step. Outside, the battle raged on, but inside the station, a new chance was born. Somehow, they had managed to sabotage the station's defenses, perhaps enough to reach the relay. But they knew the fight wasn't over yet. The real challenge still lay ahead, and every second counted. Their victory was fragile, but it was a start. And as they pressed forward, hope flickered anew, brighter than before. The narrow corridor leading to the relay station was a gauntlet of chaos. Sparks flew from damaged wiring, and the smell of burnt metal lingered in the air like a warning. Alex, Sela, and their ragtag crew moved swiftly, their steps quick but cautious. Every sound was amplified, the distant crack of gunfire, the shrill cries of alarms, the pounding of their hearts. Outside, the Hormyle patrols were relentless, their searchlights sweeping across the debris-strewn landscape, hunting for the intruders. Sela kept her pulse steady, clutching her rifle tightly, eyes darting from side to side. "We're getting close," she whispered, voice husky with urgency. "The relay station's just beyond that bend." "Good," Alex muttered, glancing over his shoulder. "Once we get inside, we could disable their communication grid. That'll give us some breathing room." Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the corridor behind them, debris showering down as a section of the wall crumbled. "They're on to us," one of the survivors muttered, voice trembling. "Run faster," Alex barked. "No time to waste. Keep moving." As they rounded the corner, they saw the station's massive, reinforced door, still intact but heavily scarred from previous battles. It looked like a beast ready to devour them. Sela hurried forward, punching in a code on the panel beside the door. It hissed open slowly, revealing a dark interior filled with the hum of machinery and the flickering glow of emergency lights. Inside, the atmosphere was tense and oppressive. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and oil, and the faint sound of distant gunfire echoed through the metal corridors. They pressed on, navigating through the maze of control panels and broken consoles, every step bringing them closer to their goal. "Almost there," Sela said, voice barely a whisper. "The relay station should be just a few more corridors away. We need to reach it before they regroup." Suddenly, a loud alarm blared, filling the station with a shrill, piercing cry. The group froze in place, hearts pounding. Red lights flashed overhead, casting an ominous glow. The unmistakable sound of boots approaching signaled that the Hormyle patrol had caught their scent. "Time's up," Alex said grimly. "They're on us. We need to move now." From the shadows emerged a squad of Hormyle soldiers, their armor battered but their weapons deadly. They poured into the room, guns raised. One of the soldiers spotted them first and shouted, "Intruders! Take them down! Cover fire!" Alex shouted, raising his weapon and firing a burst that knocked one soldier to the ground. "Go, go, go!" he yelled, pushing the team forward. Sela darted past, firing her rifle to keep the enemy at bay. "We're not going down without a fight," she yelled, her voice fierce. The team scrambled toward the core of the station, dodging blasts and ricochets as chaos erupted around them. They reached the control panel near the relay, its blinking lights casting eerie shadows. Sela hurriedly connected her device, a makeshift jammer designed to disable the station's signals temporarily. Just as she finished, a soldier lunged at her, but Alex tackled him, knocking him aside. Hurry, Alex shouted, voice strained. We need to overload this system, now. With a sudden surge of energy, Sela activated her device. There was a burst of static and a deafening hum as the station's communications went dead, plunging everything into an unsettling silence. Outside, the battle raged on, but inside, hope flickered anew. They had succeeded, at least temporarily. The station trembled violently as the overload took effect, debris falling around them. That should buy us some time, Sela gasped, eyes wide with adrenaline. But we need to get out fast. The group sprinted back through the twisting corridors, the station shaking behind them like a dying beast. Outside, the fight raged on, but now, with the communications severed, the Hormyle patrols were temporarily blind. Their victory was fragile, yet crucial. Every second counted, and they knew the final stretch was still ahead. As they burst into the open, the battered sky above them was filled with smoke and fire, but amidst the chaos, a flicker of hope burned brighter than ever. They had disrupted the enemy's network, and maybe, just maybe, they could turn the tide of this war. The dust and smoke of their escape still lingered in the air as the team sprinted across the scorched earth, their breaths ragged and hearts pounding like drums in their chests. Behind them, the station's explosion had sent shockwaves rippling through the landscape, a deafening blast that echoed in their ears and marked the beginning of what they hoped would be their final victory. The sky was a swirling chaos of dark clouds streaked with fiery orange, casting an ominous glow over the battered terrain. They didn't dare slow down, not now. Every step brought them closer to safety, yet the danger was far from over. Alex led the way, eyes sharp, voice tense but steady. Keep moving. We're almost clear of the blast zone. Just a little further. His words were a rallying cry amidst the chaos, pushing everyone to their limits. Sela, clutching her weapon tightly, fought to steady her trembling hands. Her mind raced, replaying everything. The peril, the sacrifices, the narrow escapes. She shot a glance at her companions, their faces marked with dirt and sweat, but alive with fierce determination. Suddenly, a distant explosion erupted behind them, sending a shockwave that shook the ground. They're regrouping, she yelled, voice strained with urgency. We can't let them catch us now. From the shadows, a figure appeared, an unexpected ally amid the chaos. It was Mira, the quick-witted scout who had been scouting ahead all along. I've got a safe route, Mira called out, her voice cutting through the din like a blade. Follow me. I know a hidden path through the ravines. Without hesitation, the team veered toward Myra's direction, plunging into a narrow, winding trail flanked by jagged rocks and thorny bushes. The terrain was treacherous, but it offered cover, a fleeting hope against the relentless pursuit of the Hormyle forces. Nice work, Mira, Alex said, panting but grateful. You just saved our skins again. Mira grinned, her eyes bright with adrenaline. No time for thanks. Just move, she snapped, darting ahead with an agility that seemed almost supernatural. The group pushed forward, shadows flickering around them, the sounds of distant gunfire fading into a muffled roar as they gained ground. As they emerged from the ravines into a hidden valley, the team paused to catch their breath. The landscape was eerily quiet now, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. Sela wiped the sweat from her brow, her voice shaky but triumphant. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. The relay's down, and their communications are out. We bought ourselves some time. But Alex wasn't entirely convinced. We can't celebrate yet, he said grimly. The Hormyle will regroup and come after us again. We need to get to the resistance base fast. Suddenly, from the horizon, a convoy of armored vehicles roared into view, kicking up plumes of dust. The enemy had finally realized their target was fleeing, and they weren't going to let go that easily. They're closing in, Mira exclaimed, eyes wide with alarm. We got to move now. The team gathered their remaining strength and launched into a frantic dash through the valley, dodging rocks and fallen trees, knowing that every second was critical. The vehicles thundered closer, their engines growling like beasts hungry for prey. As they ran, Alex shouted over the chaos, "Hold on, we're almost there. Just a little further." Through the dust and chaos, a faint glimmer of hope shimmered. An old, abandoned outpost that Mira remembered from her scouting. It looked like a ruin, but was their best shot at regrouping and planning their next move. They sprinted toward it, hearts pounding, lungs burning, knowing that their victory was still fragile, that the war was far from over. Yet, amidst the danger and despair, a new flame of hope ignited within them, brighter than ever. They had disrupted the enemy's plans and delayed their advance, and now they stood on the brink of a final stand. With every ounce of strength they had left, they pressed on, ready to face whatever lay ahead, determined to see their mission through to the very end. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.